We should be knowledgeable citizens who are active in making our influence felt in civic affairs. In the United States and in other democracies, political influence is exercised by running for office, which we encourage, by voting, by financial support, by membership and service in political parties, and by ongoing communications to officials, parties, and candidates. To function well, a democracy needs all of these, but a conscientious citizen does not need to provide all of them.
Dallin H. Oaks, first counselor in the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. President Oaks spoke the words you just saw and heard him speak in the April 2021 General Conference of the Church. As you can see, his talk is called Defending Our Divinely Inspired Constitution. Welcome to Dutiful Citizen, the channel that helps you and I receive blessings from God by learning and doing our duties as citizens. Please remember that I, Warren Rogers, do not have the authority to speak as a representative of God or of any church. I am your fellow citizen, and what I say is my opinion. In Dutiful Citizen Episode 17, Prophets, Seers, and Revelators, to which I provide a link in the description below this video, I show that President Oaks has the authority that I lack. The authority to speak as an official representative of God. That being the case, what President Oaks tells us about our citizen duties is what God tells us about our citizen duties. However, for the remainder of this episode, I refer to President Oaks, rather than to God, to help you remember that I am referring to the video segment that you just saw, that I quoted from this conference talk. In the words of President Oaks, I hear a list of 5 ways that you and I, as citizens, can and should exercise our influence. We can and should be candidates for public offices, vote, give money to worthy causes, be members of and serve in political parties, and communicate regularly with officials, parties, and candidates. However, President Oaks does tell us that the Lord may still consider you or I a conscientious citizen even if neither one of us does all 5 of the things in the list. Again, however, President Oaks also does tell us that to function well, a democracy needs all of these forms of citizen influence. That a democracy needs all 5 implies that someone should provide all 5. If President Oaks does not intend to imply this, then why tell us that all 5 are needed? That someone should provide all 5 implies that you and I should provide all 5. I imagine that some people will be hesitant to accept the implication about you and I that I have just asserted. So let us reason together. Let's imagine that one citizen were morally obligated to communicate with public officials, but other citizens were not obligated likewise. Would that be fair? How then should we reconcile the implication that you and I should each provide all 5 forms of citizen influence with the statement that a conscientious citizen does not need to provide all of them? A republic or representative democracy is a political system in which the citizens elect public officials, including those who make the laws. Other citizens, you and I, are each responsible to do what we can to promote good government. But we do not have to research and write every law. Instead, we elect legislators who do that for us. In other words, we delegate our duty to make good laws. When we delegate our duty, we still have the responsibility to make sure that those to whom we delegate do good things, not bad things. But much of the work can be done for us by those to whom we delegate our duty. You and I, as a citizen, each have the duty to use all 5 forms of citizen influence that President Oaks enumerates. But for each form, we can either act in person or delegate to someone else. President Oaks uses the word conscientious. I think that both acting in person and delegating a duty are conscientious. Not conscientious are denying that the duty is even needed, assuming that someone else will do the duty for you even though you do not ask him to, etc. I like the idea of delegation a lot. One concern that I have long felt is that if I have to do everything myself, I will only be able to devote a tiny amount of time to each task. Too little time for me to ever learn to do the task well. Delegation allows each citizen to specialize, so each citizen can learn to do well any duties delegated to him. I suspect that for some of you, even the idea of asking someone to be a candidate seems like something that you could never do. You may not know anyone whom you think would do a good job as a government official. You and I can only really learn line upon line, as I point out in a previous video to which you can find a link in the description below this video. For now, if the first form of citizen influence is too scary for you, focus on the other forms of citizen influence. In another video, I will return to the topics of being a candidate and asking someone else to be a candidate. In the description below this video, I provide a link to episode 20, Word of God as Seed, in which I show you some teachings of the ancient prophet Alma the Younger regarding how you and I can learn for ourselves if something we have been told to do is really something that we can do and should do. I promise that, in preparation for the 2022 election year, I will use all the forms of citizen influence that President Oaks expressly or by implication urges you and I to use. I will use all these forms of citizen influence in person, or by delegation, or both. In other words, I will test these duties as Alma directs. Will you please use some form of citizen influence that you have not tried before? This has been Dutiful Citizen Channel, Episode 21, Forms of Citizen Influence.